Hello everyone, my name is Daniel, and today we will be testing the Saturday Sabbath against biblical history. So, do the documented Sabbaths actually occur on a Saturday? We're going to figure that out by using a combination of Stellarium and the Bible. Stellarium simulates the sky continuously, regardless of any changes in calendar or adding or removing days or any of the other shenanigans that goes on from time to time. So assuming we know a modern 7-day cycle that goes all the way back to creation, and we know 2 points of time in Stellarium, we can calculate the day of the week. So this is the scientific process that I'm going to be using to prove or test the calendars. The first is we need to prove a year independent of the calendar. Because if you use the calendar to prove the year, then you're creating a cycle that is self-referential. So there's lots of evidence from history that prove various years, and we'll rely on that to find our date in the sky. We will calculate the start of every calendar. Some calendars use the sliver, some use the conjunction, some use the equinox, some use the full moon, some use the equilux. And if you have another calendar that uses a different means of starting the year, you should be able to use this exact same process to test that calendar to see if Saturday Sabbath is biblical. Once we know the start of the year, we can also calculate the start of each month. Then we identify known Sabbaths, where the Bible actually spells out the month and the day of the month and has language that lets us know that that particular day is a seventh-day Sabbath. And then we can calculate the days from that point in the sky to a known weekday. You can use any weekday, but I chose to use the April 8th eclipse of 2024 as a known weekday. And now we can calculate, is the day that the Bible described as a Sabbath, is it actually falling on a Saturday, assuming a 7-day continual cycle? So these are the known years we'll be testing. 1446 BC is the Exodus. And we know that from Scripture and from abundant documentation that I've provided in the videos for Practically Indisputable Case for 31 AD, as well as the Year of Release Timeline to Messiah, 31 AD. Both of those videos provide the documentation from history that prove those dates. So we have the 1406 Jordan crossing, which is 40 years from Exodus. And then we have the 31 AD cross. And then just for fun, I threw in the hypothetical 30 AD cross. You can apply this process to any year. So if you have a different theory, you can use this process to test your year as well. So let's talk about testing the Saturday Sabbath. So I got a table here that shows the results with the calendar, Passover. When they started getting manna on the 16th day of the second month, which they got manna for 6 days, and they got a double portion. So that would be known Sabbaths there, and then the cross. So the first calendar I tested was the conjunction. This starts the month and the year when the moon is completely dark, and the following day is the first day of the month. So this has Passover occurring on a Wednesday. Manna starts on a Sunday, which actually does work because the manna Saturday should be the Sabbath. You get manna on Sunday, you go 6 days, and then you have another Saturday. So that works for the conjunction. We have got the cross on a Monday in 31 AD and on a Wednesday in 30 AD. Both of those days have problems because of the 7 inclusive days to Emmaus, plus the women holding on to the spices and not taking it to the body in a timely fashion when there was no reason they couldn't. So any particular calendar, Saturday needs to work on all of these different dates for it to make sense. So getting the manna right is not enough. The sliver moon, which is one interpretation of Enoch. There's two ways that people interpret Enoch, but we're going to use sliver for this one. It has Passover occurring on a Thursday. What that means is that if Passover occurs on a Thursday, then they leave Egypt on a Sabbath. And they are traveling on a Sabbath, which goes against what the understanding is of how far you're allowed to travel on a Sabbath. It has the manna starting on a Monday, which doesn't make sense. It has the cross on a Wednesday in 31 AD, or a Thursday in 30 AD. All of those dates do not line up or are not compatible with a Saturday Sabbath. Then we have the solar equinox. This is the calendar suggested by Repo Man 64. And it has a Thursday Passover, a Tuesday for the start of manna, a Thursday for the cross. And Thursday for the cross almost works. It creates 4 inclusive days to the road to Emmaus. Doesn't have the problem with the spice delay because there's 2 back-to-back Sabbaths under this theory. But nevertheless, it does not work for the other dates. We have the solar equinox, which is the Dead Sea Scroll calendar. And here we have a Sunday Passover, which works, but it has them resting 4 days after they leave, which is plausible. But the manna would start on a Friday, the cross on a Saturday. No way that works. And lastly, we have the full moon calendar. When used in conjunction with a Saturday Sabbath, and we see that it works for starting the manna on a Sunday, but the other days really do not work. So let's go ahead and dive in to the second month of Exodus. This is when the manna is supposed to come. We know from Exodus 16:1, on the 15th day of the second month, after their departing out of the land of Egypt, and it came to pass that at evening the quail came up and covered the camp, and in the morning manna came down. And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread. So the 7th day would then be the manna. So they're complaining to Moses on the 15th when they arrive. And Jehovah hears the complaint and sends them manna and quail for 6 days. So we know that the 15th has to be a Sabbath because they're getting manna and quail for 6 days after that. But on the sliver calendar, the quail show up on a Sunday night, with Monday being the first day of getting manna. And so you have to ask, are they getting a double portion of manna on Saturday morning? That does not work. So if you go to Repo Man 64's Equilux, start of the solar calendar, then you've got the first day of quail occurring on a Monday. And they're getting a double portion on Sunday morning. That also does not line up with a Saturday Sabbath. If you go to the Jews' dark moon conjunction, you've got the quail coming Saturday night and a double portion on Friday morning. So that does work for the quail. All right, the next date that I want to investigate from history is the first month of Joshua, where they cross the Jordan River. After they cross the Jordan River, they celebrate Passover. And we've got the following scripture. And they did eat of the old corn of the land, so they're not using new fruits, on the morrow after the Passover. So the day after the Passover is the first day of unleavened bread. And so they ate old corn on that day. And then we have Leviticus 23. It says, and they shall lift up the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you on the tomorrow after the first day, implying unleavened bread. If it was the first day of the week, then the tomorrow after that would be the second day of the week, which doesn't make sense. The priest shall lift it up, and then you're supposed to even count even unto the tomorrow after the seventh Sabbath. You shall number 50 days. All right, and then Josephus records, but on the second day of unleavened bread, which is the 16th day of the month, always the 16th day of the month apparently, they first partake of the first fruits of the earth. So that's when first fruits is, on the 16th. Before that day, they do not touch or eat the first fruits, which is compatible with what we read from Joshua, where they ate the old corn on the 15th, and then the manna stopped on the 16th. So from this, we can calculate when there's supposed to be a Saturday Sabbath. If we count 7 Sabbaths from the 16th, then we should, the day after that, should be the next first fruits. So I went ahead and mapped it out, and if we have first fruits indicated by the purple F, and we count 7 Sabbaths, well, the Sunday after that will be the 44th day. That doesn't work. And if you complete that week, the next Saturday will be the 50th day, which would be a Sabbath, but you're supposed to go the day after that, which would be the 51st day and not the 50th day. So here's an example where we're told that 50 days, 7 Sabbaths should line up on a Saturday, but it does not line up on a Saturday in this particular year, or any year really, where Passover is not on a Friday. So there's lots of other things to investigate with respect to counting the time to Pentecost, but the point is we've identified a day where we should have a Saturday, and we don't. If we go to the first month of Exodus, I'm going to go through these real quick, but it has them on the sliver moon, they leave on the Sabbath, and that's an epic fail. And then on reprimands, they're leaving on a Sabbath, or the day after a Sabbath. So you have all of these slides on here, which you can review. I've got the day counts, the week counts, and everything for you to investigate and validate for yourself. But now this is the second month of Exodus with the quail on the full moon. It works because it lines up. All right, I've previously done a video titled Saturn's Day is Coming with 4 Horsemen. This talks about the coming judgment, which I believe the signs in the sun, moon, and stars on October 9th, 2024 line up with a picture of Revelation, the 4 horsemen, him standing at the door and knocking, and silence in heaven for half an hour, and Babylon being thrown into a river, never to rise again. All those things are in the stars on that date. Check out that video to see the implication of the problems with Saturday.